Ați venit la un nou webinar AmpliFY. De data aceasta vom discuta despre diversificarea financiară pentru ONG-uri. Vom avea alături de noi doi speaker, pe Pauline Verheghe și pe Alexandru Codreș de la BCR Social Finance. Vă reamintesc că intervenția lui Pauline va fi în limba engleză complet, iar intervenția lui Alex va fi în limba română. Vom fi alături pe parcursul a 2 ore. Am făcut o mică agenda a sesiunii ca să știți exact cum ne vom organiza astăzi. Prima parte, după cum vedeți, este micul meu intro despre această sesiune. Pauline va fi alături de noi pentru aproximativ 70-75 de minute în care își va prezenta partea sa. Pe urmă va urma intervenția lui Alex, iar la final vă rugăm foarte frumos să rămâneți alături de noi pentru a discuta despre cum a fost la acest webinar. O să vă trimitem un feedback form prin care vom trece împreună, iar pe urmă vă vom trimite un link în care puteți să vă înscrieți în comunitatea AmpliFY. Good. Toate bune până aici? Suntem toți? Ne-am mai strâns? Dăm drumul? Bun. Știu că unii dintre voi sunteți alături de noi la multe webinare, la multe evenimente, dar pentru cei care ne descoperă astăzi pentru prima dată, AmpliFY ONG este comunitatea care sprijină organizațiile non-profit din România să se conecteze, să învețe și să își crească, să-și amplifice impactul. Facem asta prin organizarea de evenimente, cum sunt aceste evenimente online, webinare, dar mergem și în țară prin formate fizice, la meetup-uri sau la evenimentul NGOs Night Out, care se întâmplă simultan în aceeași seară în mai multe orașe din țară. Și așa un pic de informație internă, următoarea ediție va fi pe 21 iulie, așa că save the date, ne vedem în toată țara, în 12 orașe, la NGOs Night Out pe 21 iulie. Bun, ce vedeți pe slide sunt câteva repere din munca noastră de până acum, evenimente, comunitate, sprijin și resurse pentru organizațiile care vor să crească. Dincolo de aceste evenimente, noi am identificat o nevoie recurentă în comunitate și anume faptul că ONG-urile nu au nevoie doar de acces punctual la finanțări, ci au nevoie de capacitatea de a construi organizații mai puternice, mai clare și mai sustenabile pe termen lung. Cum noi ne dorim prin aceste webinare să vă ajutăm să faceți acest lucru și de aceea atât webinarul de astăzi cât și webinarul de data trecută au avut această teme a diversificării surselor de venit. Considerăm că este un subiect foarte important în contextul actual și, cum spuneam, diversificarea surselor de finanțare ne ajută să construim sustenabilitate pe termen lung. Bun. Webinarul de astăzi este fix în această direcție și, cum spuneam, avem alături de noi doi speakeri minunați. Nu o să stau să vi prezint și Pauline am rugat-o să vorbească despre sine. Ne vom uita împreună la exemplele ei, vom discuta, să știți că va fi o sesiune interactivă. Vă recomand să comunicați cu noi prin chat, puteți să vorbiți cu noi și prin microfon, dar să încercăm să facem asta într-o manieră în care ne respectăm unii pe alții și să încercăm să menținem o sesiune curată și echilibrată. Ce mai este important, după sesiunea de astăzi, să știți că veți primi un exercițiu pe care vă invit este dat de Pauline și acest exercițiu vă invit să îl completați și o să vă dau eu toate datele să-l trimiteți înapoi către mine. Bun, acum să respir. Vă mulțumesc încă o dată că v-ați alăturat. Pauline, the stage is yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. I did not get one word from this presentation, but I'm sure it was very interesting. I'm just going to share my screen. Thank you so much, AmpliFY NGO, for having me today. I'm really, really excited to be able to present to you this workshop that I've been giving for a while. My name is Pauline Verheghe. I know I have a difficult last name. I myself struggle to pronounce it correctly. I am from Belgium. I'm based in Brussels. I'm working. Can you hear me? Is everyone hearing me okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. I've been working in the social sector for about 15 years now. A big chunk of that time was spent at Ashoka. It's a global network supporting social entrepreneurs. I did a lot of different things there, but the last part of my job was helping the Ashoka Fellows on rethinking financial sustainability. And I now do that as part of Social Innovation Circle, which is a small consultancy. We accompany social entrepreneurs on their fundraising journeys. And what we do is we package everything that we learn from the ground and we build workshops so that we can share this knowledge with a bigger group like yours today. So I'm very, very happy that AmpliFY NGO invited me to discuss a topic that I think is so essential, which is how to diversify your revenue. In other words, exploring low-hanging fruits. When we were discussing with Roxana the type of topics that were interesting, and we discussed about fundraising and strategies, it really dawned on me that it's really important to think about fundraising strategies, but also think about how can you build internal fundraising, internal revenue, because it's something that is too often overlooked. And so what I want to do today is I want to discuss the different strategies that will help you leverage activities that you are currently doing that could help you build revenue lines and build towards financial sustainability. So very quickly here, before we get started, would you want to write in the chat any current challenges as questions that you are running into when it comes to new sources of income? We know that it's a particularly difficult time fundraising as a social enterprise and an NGO today. We know that across Europe and across the world, the public sector is slowly retracting its support to the social sector. And so now more than ever before, it is essential for social enterprises and nonprofits to think about how to build financial sustainability outside of classic fundraising strategies. So please take some time to write in the chat any challenges and questions. We are a very big group today. I won't be able to answer all your questions. I will 100% share my email, of course, afterwards, so you can share your questions via email. But for now, please take some time. We have someone else from Brussels. All right, I can see the chat, which is amazing. But Roxana, I'm going to need a bit of your help to navigate this group and the questions that are asked. So
I'm here. And I will tell them as well that if they don't feel confident to write in English, it's okay to write in Romanian. I'll do my best to translate. Maybe I don't have the whole terminology, but I'm doing my best. So yeah, here to help.
Absolutely.
Everyone.
You can write in the chat in Romanian. You can even, when we have the discussion part, have it in Romanian as well. And Roxana will be there to translate. Absolutely. And of course, I want this to be as interactive as possible. So please ask questions, challenge me, comment on your own experience. There's such a big group today. I mean, this is a lot because we're going to be able to learn from all of you and your experience on the ground. So very quickly, before we get started, the agenda for the day. So I want to introduce you with a topic, with a concept, that we find extremely rich when it comes to thinking about diversifying revenues. And that's what we call hidden assets. I'm going to go into, I don't know why it says one on each. It's not the same. Anyway, forget the number one on the left. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But basically, we were going to see 3 main hidden assets today: monetizing infrastructure, monetizing new customers, monetizing knowledge. And if time allows, I want to explore quickly 3 extra revenue streams. Just a few ground rules. We're a big group, and I really, really want to hear from as many people as possible. So if you see me being a little strict on time, it's not because I don't want to hear what you have to say, it's because I want as much organization as possible to be able to interject throughout the presentation. So please be mindful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to present 1 hidden asset with real life examples, and then spend a bit of time for discussion, so that there's always time to ask questions and to share your own experience, and then we'll have a bigger time for discussion at the end. If you can't hear me, if you can't see me, you please don't hesitate to stop me at any time. Roxana,
I'm
I
here.
kind of need to monitor, sorry, the chat, because it's quite disturbing to do both. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
So I will
So
when I take a break, but as soon as I get started, I kind of need to concentrate on this. All right. So hidden assets. Yeah.
For the
Anything?
first question, do you want to hear the questions?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. How can you sustain the new ways that you find or try to find? Another big challenge is fundraising to cover large budgets in a dependable fashion for ongoing programs. Political instability. Then what's the safest way to move from funds based on donations and fiscal facilities mechanisms to constant revenue? And how delicate is moving an NGO from no income to service provider with income?
All right.
These are the first questions.
Thank you for all the engagement. Political instability, that's part of what happens when you are dependent on public grants as well. I'm from Belgium. Our political landscape has changed from left to right very quickly, and funds have just been cut left and right. And that's why when we discussed doing this workshop today, I thought we need to discuss the possibility to raise revenue. And I'm going to go to Adina's question. How delicate is moving an NGO from no income to service provider with income? It's an excellent question. First of all, generating revenue doesn't mean generating profit. You're not a for-profit because you're generating revenue. A lot of NGOs are generating revenues, okay? And I know that NGOs tend to be uncomfortable with it, and it shouldn't be the case, because you'll see through this presentation that you can always find people who will be willing to pay for what you do. You do excellent work. You are experts in your field. You have built communities. You have built knowledge. You have built know-how, and it is time that you get revenue off of that. And it's a concept that a lot of NGOs are uncomfortable with. And I'm really happy, as I go through the examples, to discuss this with you and to discuss how that could translate with your own organization. But it's a very relevant question that I hear a lot. And I hope that today's presentation can kind of demystify what it means to raising revenue as a nonprofit. All right, enough with the treasure. Let's go into hidden assets. So what do we mean by hidden assets? First of all, I wanted to give you an old example of what a hidden asset is. So in the 1980s, IBM became the biggest company when it came to personal computers, right? They were known as the provider for personal desktop. And you would see IBM as a one company with a one product, right? The personal computer. Everyone knows the personal computer. IBM was the provider of the personal computer. But in order for IBM to deliver those personal computers, they needed two things that were essential for that product to exist. One was the microchips, and the other one was the software, right? Those are integral part of that one product that you have in mind. And the reality is, it ended up that both products, so both sub-product, if you will, of IBM, the microchips and the software, were run by companies that actually ended up being much bigger than IBM, because the microchips and the software were able to sell that insight to many, many other companies. So if you think about it, IBM had this one product, the personal computer. In order for that one product to exist, they needed different things. They needed a microchip and they needed a software, right? Those were the hidden assets within that personal computer. And once they saw the personal computer and split it and saw that within the personal computer you had two different assets, those different assets were able to explode commercially, right? So today we're going to discuss, what is your Intel inside? What is your Microsoft? What's the hidden asset that is lying within your organization that today you could leverage to raise revenue? Yeah, sorry. What are the hidden assets inside your organization? So we're going to dig deep. We're going to dig deeper into what we mean by the different type of hidden assets. What I'm hoping today is that I give you enough examples and enough food for thought that you get out of this workshop with new vision of what your organization delivers on a daily basis and what you could leverage for revenue. Okay. All right. So first, hidden asset. The three hidden assets I want to see today are infrastructure, new customers, and knowledge. If time allows, I'm going to give you three more potential hidden assets that you could explore as a nonprofit. Let's start with infrastructure. Monetizing your infrastructure. At the beginning of each hidden asset, I'm going to ask you one big question, okay? I want you to think hard about that one big question whilst I explain it in detail and I give the examples, because that's the one big question I'm going to come back to when we start the discussion, all right? Okay, monetizing infrastructure. What have you built for yourself that you could sell to others? Infrastructure is anything that you've built for your company, for your social mission, that actually could be used by other customers, right? What infrastructure have you built for yourself, for your social enterprise, that you could sell to others? Very similar to the IBM example. IBM built personal computers. In order to have personal computers, you needed microchips and you needed software. What infrastructure have you built for yourself that you could sell to others? Basically, what that means is, what tools have you built for yourself? In the case of IBM, what software have you built for yourself? Did you build a distribution or an outreach network in a community that could be leveraged for another partner? Do you have physical infrastructure that you've built? Do you have a factory where you create your product or where you store your product? If that's the case, is there a physical infrastructure that you can repurpose to generate revenue? All right. In order to anchor all of that and all of these questions, I'm going to go through different examples to help you understand what it means to monetize infrastructure that you've built for yourself that could potentially serve another customer. Tools you build. Sorry. So the first one is Bridge for Billions. Bridge for Billions is an organization that is based in Spain. And what they do is they realize that entrepreneurship was a very unequal sector. Basically, if you came from a privileged background, if you had a strong network, if you had a bigger net worth, you were most likely to succeed as an entrepreneur. And that felt very unjust. That meant that not everyone was equal when starting a company, and it meant that not everyone could be solving some of today's biggest issues. And so what they decided to do for Bridge for Billions is to build a platform for underrepresented entrepreneurs to help them navigate all the knowledge, tools, and networks needed to succeed as an entrepreneur. So that platform is unique in its genre, and it's catered to thousands of underrepresented entrepreneurs across Europe and across the world, bringing together mentorship, data visualization, knowledge hubs, everything that you would need to strive as an entrepreneur. Well, it so happens that the software that they built, that platform, was actually very useful to someone else. A lot of corporates run entrepreneurship programs within their company, outside of their company, and they really wanted access to the Bridge for Billions platform. So what the Bridge for Billions team realized is the tool that they had built for themselves for their beneficiary was actually also very useful for corporates running entrepreneurship programs. And so what they did is their monetizing infrastructure was keeping the platform free for their beneficiary, and then selling access to the platform to people who could pay for it, but also needed access to it. So they now sell yearly memberships to corporates at around, I think it's a monthly membership program system. And these corporates access all of the Bridge for Billions content and software features for a fee, and that allows their beneficiary to continue to access all of that platform for free. So what infrastructure they built? They built a software for their beneficiaries, and they found someone else that could really benefit from that software. Another example of infrastructure that you constantly build as a social enterprise, your outreach network, or you could also say your distribution network. So the example I chose here is an outreach network, but I'm going to give you another one about distribution network as well. So Somos Todas Marias is an organization coming out of Brazil, and it started very informally, like a lot of NGOs do, where it was a network of beauty salon owners in favelas in Brazil that were receiving training and support to better manage their finance, to better outreach to the community, and to basically be a better relay for women in the communities they were serving. Because what the founder realized is beauty salons in favelas are also a safe space for women from the community. It's a space where women can come and, share their hurdle. They can come and connect with other, women from the community. And so it's a very strong anchorage within a community that's not always easy to reach. And here it's the women in favelas. So very, very organically, Somos Todas Marias built this very rich network of beauty salon owners. And it started to spark the interest, of course, of beauty brands. And so what they did with Somos Todas Marias is they worked with beauty brands that were aligned, and that's definitely a part of the discussion that we can have, is how do you work with the private sector as a social enterprise? And so that the beauty brands could access that very rich community and outreach network that Somos Todas Marias had built against funding for the programs. The last one is more of a classical one. It's your physical infrastructure. We're going to Toronto for this one. It's called the Center for Social Innovation, and it was founded with the idea of creating spaces for nonprofits to come together so that they could work in the same physical space, they could learn and exchange with each other. It started by a very simple concept, the concept of sharing space. So they were renting offices and they were sharing this space and they were building the Center for Social Innovation, literally, in Toronto. With the risk of landlords raising the costs of rental, they decided to take a leap of faith. They took a community bond, so community members and aligned investors helped Center for Social Innovation buy their first building to be able to continue to provide this space. And what they did with that space is they started renting out floors. So what was used as their core social mission also became their biggest revenue lines. What's even more interesting here with the Center for Social Innovation, and it refers to another revenue line, is that what they built with Center for Social Innovation was so successful that actually other other co-working spaces for social innovation asked to use their brand and their strategies. And so they started to license the Center for Social Innovation brand outside of Canada. So what they did here is they needed a physical infrastructure in order for their idea, their solution, which is create space for social innovators. They use that as a way to build revenue as well. All right, so these are the first 3 examples of our first hidden asset. How are you going to monetize infrastructure? So I want to take about 5 minutes, I think maybe 10. Let's start with 5. I want to spend more time at the end to have a bigger discussion, because that's when you'll have a clear picture of all the hidden assets I've presented. What have you built for yourself that you could sell to others? Are there any tools that you've built? Are there any networks, so a distribution network? Because I gave the example of Somos Todas Marias, but another example is a program in Africa called Healthy Entrepreneurs. They train entrepreneurs to go and deliver to last mile, so different kind of health products, and they partnered with pharmacies who were struggling to access these places, these communities, so that they could distribute their products. So again, is there a network that you're building? Do you have a particular unique access to a community that's difficult to reach for a government or for a corporate? Is that something that you could leverage? Or do you have somehow community should be under network. I don't know what's wrong with my presentation. I apologize. Or do you have a physical space where people could, where you could repurpose part of it for revenue generation? All right, so I'll stop here and I'll give a few minutes for first questions, of course, and any kind of comments and discussions. All right, so there's a lot happening in the chat. Roxana, have you been following at the beginning? Maybe you can help me, because part of it is in Romanian and I don't want to miss.
Yes. Someone said that they can rent equipment, services, specialty services. I'm not sure precisely what area. Someone else, it's in English, plans of activities that we do for kids. We concentrate on outdoor activities. And someone, and Mihai said that they have a land in the middle of, this is in English, in the middle of nature, close to a protected nature site, which could serve as a base for activities for others, like workshops and events, team building, and events like this. So these are the first examples we have from the community.
Are great examples, and absolutely, I'm just going to go through them again. So absolutely, if there's, if in your social mission you have to use space like land, think about what kind of other purpose can that land serve for. Again, if you have equipment, that's a very, very good example. Some social enterprises need to invest in equipment heavily, but maybe they don't need to use it 100% of the time. Maybe they need to use it 80% of the time. How can you leverage that 20% left on that equipment that you're using? So that's exactly the mindset that I want you to bring when I'm going to give you the exercise at the end of this workshop, and you're going to think about where can you build revenue. All right. I'm just going to go to Laura. We have a project we would like to implement this fall, and the estimated cost for the pilot program amount 114,000. How could we succeed in raising this money being just at the beginning, especially since individual donors have also become reluctant to give due to their current situation in Romania? What about communities already built on social media? So I will talk about social media communities in a bit. But yes, communities built on social media are something that you can absolutely leverage. Okay, to answer your question, Laura, I think
Yes.
it is difficult to raise the starting money for an NGO, but it is less difficult if you can make the case that you're actually going to be building financial sustainability for your organization. Why is it so hard for NGOs to fundraise? It's because funders and public funders, so private and public funders, start to be reluctant in giving money without visibility of an exit, of them being able to stop giving that money and that NGO going bust, right? Because that's what we see happening. And it's absolutely normal because that's how NGOs have been built. But we need to think a little differently, a little more creatively, okay? How can you make the case that you need that startup money, but you have in mind and at heart the idea of building financial sustainability? That is a much stronger case. That will really put you ahead of other competitors, if you will, because you'll show that you want that money to get started, but that you have visibility on how to build your own revenue streams. I hope this is helpful. And of course, again, as I said, it's always difficult because it's always individual cases. So if you want to email me afterwards, and I'm happy to jump on with anyone on a call. Then we have Anna, Vice President for Corporate Relations. BEST is an international student association, which is a local group in Bucharest. I think one of our biggest hidden assets is that we have reached to students across all Europe. Absolutely, Anna Maria. That is such a big hidden asset. And that's something that as NGOs, we underestimate. We underestimate that the community that you build, the network that you build is unique. And all I want you to leave with today is you're much stronger positioned to build revenue than you think you are. Okay. Is anyone looking to speak up? Because I'm speaking a lot. I'm seeing people in the chat, but I think if you want to, people want to take up the floor, please feel free. Before you do, I'm still reading other people in the chat. So I'm struggling here. In Romania, every exit, I'm not considering as a profit, you have at the end of the year from economic activities defined as any paid service, you are paying taxes at any regular company. Nevertheless, that you will spend this only social project. Yes, of course. So it is important for you to understand what it means to have revenues in Romania. That being said, NGOs do have revenues. It is not a weird thing. You can build revenue. What you can't do as an NGO, and that's the same across Europe, I think across the world, is you can't distribute dividends. So you can't have, for-profit investors, but you can generate revenue. You can raise debt. And I think that's what you're going to be hearing from our second speaker today. You can do all of that. What you can't do is you can't pay dividends. You can't get the money outside of the organization. Any money that you make needs to be reinvested, but that's absolutely fine. We have a huge building from which we use only one floor. I'm thinking about the idea of opening something like I Am Maria. What do you think? Could you detail more about the idea of the center in Toronto? Do charity rent the space? Absolutely. So could you tell more about the idea of the center in Toronto? So I will absolutely send you a detailed explanation of the Center for Social Innovation and how they work. But basically, yes, they rent out part of their building to other charities in Toronto that need a space. And so it's filled very quickly and it's strong revenue for that network of Center for Social Innovation. So really, really happy to share more on that enterprise afterwards. Anyone wants to comment? Otherwise, I'm going to go on to the second asset. Okay. I'm just seeing there's another here. We have wooden tools for children entertainment. We are well known among the local community. And yes, we have a physical meeting place where some of our meeting occurs. All right. Tiboldi Bea, note. So you have wooden tools for children's entertainment, right? So your beneficiaries are children and you build those products. I don't know if you want to speak up.
Hi, no, we are not building those tools. We bought them from the local enterprise.
Okay, and the physical space, you own it?
No, that's also a landed place, but we do not have to pay for that. It's from another foundation.
Okay. Here, I'm not seeing infrastructure that that you could potentially leverage. Let's go through the different hidden assets, if that's okay with you, because you might fit in the other categories. I have many examples throughout the presentation, so don't worry. And I see that Mihai Vraja has their hand up.
Yes, hello. I will take the chance to speak up. Thank you. Since both land, I mean, I mentioned land, but someone also mentioned community, as in social media community. We have a social media. We are lucky to have a social media community around our life in nature, which is around 350,000 followers now. And we basically just share our life on a hill we bought, and we live kind of off grid. And this year we started an NGO. We just opened it, and we want to build something in the likes of a eco village.
Very cool.
And we want to get volunteers there and to build something on that land, which will first protect nature and promote ecotourism and stuff like that, and also put it as I mentioned in my comment, also put it at the disposal of NGOs and businesses which resonate with our goals of protecting nature and sharing that story along.
So it feels like there are many hidden assets. So I'm going to go through the whole presentation, and I'm hoping that you're going to see there's physical space, there's community, there's even tools, but I think it's more similar to knowledge. I'm going to go through all of it, but there's a lot there. And I hope that you'll take the time to take the exercise that I've prepared for all of you, to go through it with your team and to commit to exploring one by one the different revenue streams that you can build for your project. I see a lot of them, so I think you're going to be in a very comfortable position. One point that I want to mention, because you talk about it, it is scary for nonprofits to go into building revenues, right? It's scary to have money involved, but the truth is, if it's done properly, it's a great way for you to continue to deliver more impact, okay? But what's important is, think about who you're getting that money from. Always think about aligned corporates, aligned any kind of members, aligned any kind of users of your space, okay? You don't want to lose your mission and your heart with building any kind of revenue, because you would then lose on reputation and lose on access of other funding. But thank you so much. I think you have a lot of hidden assets, and there's a lot to be explored with your team. I'm going to go quickly through the next hidden assets so that we are right on time. And I think it's gonna spur some thinking to some of you that spoke up. All right. Second hidden asset I want to discuss today is monetizing new customers. All right. Again, I'm going to go with the big questions and then we're going to go into examples and then into discussion. What do you currently deliver for free or at cost that someone else would pay for. So this is a really, really important part of diversifying revenue. A lot of you deliver great service or great program for free for most of you, or at costs, most likely at a loss, right? That's how you've been told as an NGO. And usually you cater to beneficiaries who could not pay more than what you're asking them, or could not pay anything, right? We see that when you're working with children, one of the NGOs that worked with children. We see that when you work with the most vulnerable. We see, basically, it happens that when you are running a social-driven organization, usually your customer are beneficiaries, and they tend to not have the resources necessary to pay you at a profit, which is what actually you would need to be able to run your organization, right? If you're a for-profit organization, how do you price your product? You define the unit economic, how much does it cost to produce one product? You double that so that you can cover all the other costs, and that's your selling price, right? It's logical. That's how you build, companies. In the case of nonprofits and social enterprises, it's very difficult because usually you don't decide the pricing based on what you need to make. You decide the pricing on what your beneficiary could pay. And so it makes it very difficult to basically generate revenue from any program, service, or product that you deliver because you're catering to the most excluded. That being said, we want you to be creative. What do you currently deliver for free or at cost that someone else would pay for? And that's what's interesting in that question. We're not saying raise the price of your service because, people will figure it out and pay for it. Of course not. We're saying a lot of what you do is highly qualitative and someone else would really benefit from paying for it. Okay, I'm going to go through 2 examples and then we'll open up for questions and discussion. All right, the examples are, you could imagine selling that same product, program, or service to customers at different price points. We call that cross-subsidy. Another example is you could imagine selling to governments. A lot of you provide a service that is highly useful to your local municipalities, to the governments. And the thing is, you usually interact with governments when you ask for subsidies. But the truth is, you need to understand that governments can be your clients, especially if you're running a program that they benefit from. Okay? I'm going to go into examples. All right. First example, and probably one of the most famous in the nonprofit world, it comes out of India, and it's called Aravind, the eye care system, and it was launched by Dr. V. So he is an ophthalmologist who wanted to solve a very simple problem, but actually very difficult, which is the problem of the eye cataract surgery. It was very pricey and very difficult because a lot of people suffer from, eye cataract, from a need to change the eye cataract. It's a very easy procedure, but a lot of people can't pay for it. And so what they did with Aravind is something that has since become one of the biggest examples of selling the same service at different price points. Is he opened this clinic with very small, initially, it was 11 beds. And basically what he did is 6 of these beds were patients that were receiving all the surgery for free. And 5 of these beds were people who were paying a moderate fee because they could afford it. And so in both cases, the surgery was exactly the same. What changed was the aftercare experience, right? It's a very simple procedure. It doesn't require a lot of time to do. It doesn't require a lot of recovery time either. But he realized that some people are just happy to pay a bit more for all the comfort that came with it. Some people just wanted the surgery. They couldn't afford it, but they wanted that surgery. And so with that insight, what he did is he did a cross-subsidy system where 60% of all surgeries in Aravind, 70%, of all Aravind surgeries are done for free. and 30% are paying customers. These customers are more than happy. They know that they're subsidizing patients that are going for free. They're doing it knowingly, but they're also receiving a different approach to care. For example, they get a room alone when they do the recovery and things like that. And so what happened is Dr. V was able to treat, he's treated hundreds of thousands of Indians of cataract surgery with this model, always running at a profit. In this case, he's a for-profit. But that still meant that he is the most affordable, the most accessible option for eye cataract in India. The second example here is my police. My police comes from Portugal. And what my police is Bernardo, who was a young teenager who wanted to, learn more about his local politics, and who was really invested in municipality, in his municipality, was very disappointed when he realized how difficult it was as a teenager passionate about democracy and politics to engage with his local community, his local municipality. And so that's why he launched My Police, which is a program for young people in school, using gamification and all types of products that speak to children, to build a relationship between youth, young children, and local municipalities. That program he runs for free in the schools, of course, but he realized that the local municipalities really benefited from using this program because it helped their the local elected officials to interact with their community and a difficult to access community, which is youth. And so what happened is they started charging municipalities access to the platform so that they could engage with the youth, and they provided that platform for free to the schools that they were working with. What Bernardo realized is that My Police was actually solving an issue that the government was facing. And so he's not subsidized by government at all. He's selling to governments as a service provider. And he realized that whilst he was running his program for free with the schools. All right, so time for discussion on the second hidden asset. How do you find new customers for your program, product, or service? What do you currently deliver for free or at cost that someone else would pay a premium for? Can you sell at a different price point? Are there people who could benefit from a slightly different experience that would be able to pay more, that would cover the program delivered for free to others? Could you sell to government? Can government become a client? Are you solving an issue with engaging youth in democracy? Are you solving an issue with last mile access? All of those are points that governments need to fill that they can't fill themselves. How can your organization, your solution, become a solution that is serving governments? All right, I'm going to take another 5 minutes for this, 7 minutes for discussion. Please, you can write in the chat, but you can also raise your hand. It's great when you speak up, and I want to hear from you. And there are some here that are in Romanian, and I don't want to miss the Romanian comments, Roxana. I'm worried that I'm just...
Yes, no, one question was about if they will receive the recording, and we assured them that the recording will be shared. And there was the question from Mara, No Limit Pets. We addressed it. She was saying that it's prohibited to have commercial activities as an NGO, and we told her that she needs to check the legal papers from when she founded the NGO, because it's written there if she can have or cannot have commercial activities. It's called statute. I have no idea how you call this in English. Apologies.
No, don't worry.
It's the legal paper you have at the beginning when you fund your
status. At least in French, c'est le statut. So I don't know. I'm also
okay. So that's it. Yeah. Thank you, Latin languages.
Almost like the language in English, but you know, no. So
Okay.
it's a good point. Of course, always check the legal realities of your NGO, and you should absolutely make sure that you are in the rights. Careful that you know you can generate revenue. You'd be surprised the flexibility that NGOs have in generating revenue. There are just limitations on how much, and also how much money. In Belgium, for example, the limitation comes to how much cash you can have on your account on a monthly basis. It's a bit of a random one, but you can't have a certain excedent of cash as an NGO in Belgium, for example. So that's something that you can play around as well when you're raising revenue. I see Nicholas has his...
Hi, thank you. So I represent Dog Assist. We are an organization that does animal-assisted services, most importantly, animal-assisted therapy. Now, our therapy is paid for, but more than 80% of all the therapy that we do is free from sponsorships and donations. Now, we perceive a price for this, but we consider that therapy should not be a luxury. Therefore, we try our best to give it for free. But for example, for our communities, the moment we would start to, I don't know, ask for these price points, they would be less interested into donating to us or get involved in what we do, because mainly our mission is to do it for the community and, do everything in the gap that others don't put their effort in. So how do you see this fine line between everyone getting involved because the reason of the organization is good and asking for money for what you do?
It's an excellent question. It's a really, really, really key point on starting to raise revenue. First of all, the importance is transparency and communication. But even before that, you need to understand, where are you deriving your revenues from today? You're talking about a community that's donating. Is that community a community of small donors? Are the people in your community already donating any kind of money? Or it's just that they're donating time?
Well, I'm talking about money, like donors that believe in our mission and
okay. So just so I understand correctly, you're saying, I'm worried that our current donors will leave us if we start charging part of our services.
Yeah, that's one thing. And the second thing would be like the way we are perceived in the community.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I understand your two questions. Wanted to make sure that was aligned. Okay. So for the first point, it's absolutely crucial that you have a conversation with them first, because they have to understand that it's in their own interest that you start diversifying your revenue streams. If you're 100% dependent on them, they're 100% stuck with you until they stop and then you die, right? That's not what they want. They are invested in your success. You're not doing this so that you can, make a hell lot of money, close the company and go live somewhere in the sun. Like, you're obviously doing that for your own financial sustainability. So what's really important whenever you're thinking about exploring new revenue stream is, first of all, have a conversation within your team about what can you leverage that you're already doing, but also talk about it with your current supporters. And you have to understand that what's really, really important, it's mainly about making sure that your impact continues to grow. It isn't about making money. It's about delivering more impact in a way that you can grow in a way. So that is really important. And you have to have that conversation with your funders. You're not there to become a for-profit. You're there to stay there, right? If you don't have an option for diversity in terms of funding, it's really scary for both you and the funder. So it's in their own interest that you start exploring that. That's the first thing. In terms of image, that's also a very good point. Of course, if you're used to being an organization that that gives everything for free, suddenly how do you position yourself? I think this is where you have to be transparent with your community. You have to be real with them. You have to say, this is a difficult time for social enterprises. Our goal is to serve as many of you as possible. In order to do that, we may ask for those of you who can to pay for this service. This will help us to reinvest all that money into the project that we believe everyone should access. I'm going to give you an example. So on the side, I run another organization and I help female candidates get ready to win elections. We run this program mainly for free because female candidates across Europe can't pay for this program. But what we always do is we say we're a nonprofit. We are trying to survive. And the way we do that is we ask any candidate if they're ready to pay for part of their accommodation. And we play the transparency game. If you can't, that's absolutely fine. And if you can, that money will be reinvested and will cover the cost of someone who can't. And honestly, you'd be surprised how people react. Some people say, I don't want to, I'm not interested. But some people will say, actually, I'm really interested in supporting you. I love what you do. And I know that for me, paying that service means other people can access it for free. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does answer my question. Thank you. It's just, you know, the whole mentality of the consumer in Romania, it's also about a bit educating them in understanding everything. But that's part of our job as well, I guess.
Absolutely. And to be truthful, it's not just Romania, everywhere in the world. It's funny, but this workshop is interesting because it's also about the social leaders allowing themselves to do that, to even think about that. And you deliver great things, great services. And some of the people you cater to can pay for it. And they will if you ask. You have to do it in a way that feels true to your mission and true to them, right? All right, just making sure that I'm on time. I have only 25 minutes left. Is there any other question in the chat, Roxana, that I may have missed?
Yes, it was one before this part from Irina. At 10:38, we already monetize the physical space in the form of renting this for an hourly tariff or via monthly subscription, but more revenue comes from renting the events room to different communities for an hourly tariff as well. This could be an example of how networks merge with physical infrastructure to sustain communities. It's a longer text there, but I think...
No, absolutely. So absolutely. For those of you who've already started doing this, so leveraging your activities for revenue streams, please speak up. It's really interesting for others to hear how you've done it. And to someone like Nicholas, how do you communicate around it to your community? How do you make sure that people still believe that you're all about the mission when you're, you know, when you're asking for a price point? But thank you. Yes, that's really good. You can see that within one space, there are many ways of leveraging it. You can rent the space, you can rent it for events, but what you have to remember is stay aligned, okay? Be sure that whomever you get in bed with is aligned with your brand and aligned with your mission. It's mission first. The thing that you have to remember throughout all of this and all this presentation is this should never be a reason for you to diverge from the heart of what you are in the social mission. And that's why I love this presentation around hidden assets, because we're not asking you to develop a new business because of this. It's all about leveraging what you already have. We do not want you to waste your time and spread yourself thin. I'm seeing in the chat someone who's saying you could, you could offer information and training and learn how to sell it. This is the perfect timing. You guys are on it because we're going to do the third hidden asset, and the third hidden asset is about monetizing your knowledge. All right, and this is a really big one for nonprofits as well. You have no idea how much knowledge, how much data you're generating. You are on the ground. You are there in the communities. You know more than anyone in your field, and that has a lot of value. And I want to help you see that, okay? So, big question. What do you know that others would pay you to learn? Okay, that's really, really, really crucial. You know so many things. You have so much data. What do you know that others would pay you to learn? I'm going to go into example. Okay, there are two types of knowledge. There are more, but the two I wanted to talk about today is the know-how. And this is to Nicholas' point about how to work with dogs, and data, okay? Those are two examples of knowledge that you're gathering from the ground, from your everyday work, that you could leverage into a revenue stream. Again, I'm going to say it and I'm going to say it again. This workshop today is not about you building new business lines, new activities. It is 100% about making sure that you keep true to your mission, but that you leverage the wonderful work that you're doing currently for free, that you could get money for. All right. Our first example is a fellow Belgian. His name is Arno Raskin, and he's the founder of an organization called Mobile School. I even think he's present in Romania. Arno Raskin wanted to make sure that education was accessible everywhere and anywhere, right? And so he's an engineer, I think, initially, and an engineer designer. And so he built literally what is called a mobile school. So it's a big box. No, it's like a big, it's like a big car, if you will. And it drives around, it stops, and then it opens up and it becomes a mobile school, a school that can be given anywhere, with a lot of educational assets for local NGOs to teach children in their context. He realized that a lot of the education projects tend to take children outside of their everyday context to bring them to somewhere that they were not familiar or comfortable with, and that didn't work. He wanted to bring education to them and not the other way around. So Mobile School is a very successful program. It's in, I think, 40 countries. He reaches over 60,000 children a year. He basically trains local NGO leaders, and he provides them with this mobile school. And he's basically been working with street children across Europe, Latin America, and Africa. Very, very great, very successful. He learned a lot on his tour and on his work with street children. Namely, he learned some of the skills that made these street children so resilient. And he realized that actually he was learning a lot from these children, and that knowledge could actually be repurposed. And he launched Streetwise. Streetwise is a consultancy that caters to big corporates, mainly high-level management teams in very stressful contexts, and he builds resilience and agility workshops for management based on the knowledge that he's gotten from working with street children across the world. Streetwise is a huge consultancy now. He's worked with the CEO of Coca-Cola and many other big companies, and only using the knowledge that he's gathered from working with these street children across the world. And that know-how, that knowledge that he has gathered from observing these children, absolutely people were ready to pay for it. Absolutely. And a lot of the mobile school funding now comes directly from the Streetwise consulting. And the last example is an example that comes from Indonesia. It's called Hara. And basically what the founder realized is that farmers were struggling to access credit to be able to invest for their everyday work. But what the founder of Hara realized is that farmers had an invaluable resource. Being on the ground and local farmers, they were actually gathering daily data on the reality of the soil and the weather and everything. And so they realized that if they could leverage that data, sell that data to financial institutions who want to make financial decisions, to insurance companies, that data became a resource that the farmers could then use to access better credit, and that could finance the Hara platform. So basically what was seen as, it's just knowledge that these farmers have on an everyday basis on their work, they realized, no, it's actually invaluable data that people would pay for. And so they built a platform where farmers could input their data, get paid to provide this data to financial institutions, and in return have better financial credits with the financial institutions that partnered in this Hara platform. So again, how can the data that you're gathering through your everyday work be leveraged in a way that generates revenue? Okay, I'm going into the discussion. What do you know that others would pay you to learn? What is your know-how? and we are talking here about Nicholas and your project with dogs. Is there something that you can package that could also be interesting? Maybe that's something even different than the service, that you want to keep that service for free, but you want to build knowledge that you sell. It's a possibility. What useful data do you collect? Is there data with your everyday work that could be used that governments would pay for because they need it? Insurance companies, financial institutions, whatever data you're gathering, is it something that you could repurpose to raise revenue? All right, we have a bit of time for discussion. Let's do that. And then I want to take 5 minutes just to explore 3 extra revenue lines very briefly, because I've put a lot of things in your head and I want to make sure that we have time to talk, but also that you really focus on keeping what's most interesting in this presentation, which is your organization is doing a lot of great things and it deserves to generate revenue for those great things. And your job after this workshop is to go back to your team, explore the activities, the programs, the products, whatever you do that you deliver, and see where you could raise revenue from that. All right, so we have about 10 minutes for discussion, and then I'm going to close with the extra revenue lines. Sorry. Anyone wants to interject, wants to speak up, wants to use the chat?
You can raise your hands and we can name you by one if you want to speak up. Otherwise, please use the chat. There's a question in the chat.
All right. Yeah, and I think also abroad, it's much easier to reach out to clients if you already have a good network, particularly business and corporate related. When you go into revenue generation, how best to approach it when you don't? It's a very good question. That's the case for absolutely everything in life, Georgiana. Networks are key. All right, so it's a question that's relevant for any points in fundraising. You start with whomever is part of your network right now, and it doesn't have to be a big one, but it is a network. Whatever you do, you've built a network, and it might be not the most corporate one, but it's your first circle. Whenever you think about fundraising or access, think about the first network that is currently around you and ask them who they can connect you with. And that's when you start opening doors, right? So whatever your NGO has, they have usually a board, they have funders, they have partners. Start with them. Ask them what's their network and use their network, because these people are engaged in your organization. They are engaged in your success. And so whatever network they have essentially is yours. I have a big one here. We already monetize a physical space in the form of renting desks for an hourly tariff. I know, but that we already answered that one, Irina, right?
Yeah, we already answered this one.
All right. Anyone has any questions, comments, experience? Have you yourself already explored how to leverage know-how or data that you gather?
Anyone?
Oh, it's become really silent. I hope it's because you're all thinking about how you're going to make lots of money. All right, then what I can do is I'll quickly go into the extra revenue lines, and then I'm going to leave the last minutes to discussion so that everyone can have a little think, okay?
I think there was a lot of information. I'm processing as well. I'm like, okay.
Of course, perfect. No, of course. But what I find sometimes helpful is I finish the whole presentation. Sometimes it helps to kind of have the full picture, if you will, and more questions rise, okay? So there are many other revenue lines. I focus on the 3 hidden assets that we usually say they're the most overlooked. And people tend to not realize that they have infrastructure, they have potential people who could pay for what they deliver for free, or they have a lot of know-how that they can package and sell, right? But there are extra revenue lines that you can explore as an NGO. Membership programs. So there are many ways of building a membership program. There are many ways of building a support network for your organization, but that can absolutely be built as revenue. When you see the Ashoka network, for example, if you're familiar with Ashoka, Ashoka has a very good membership program where they engage high-level, very successful commercial entrepreneurs who want to give back into this Ashoka support network. They pay a yearly fee to be part of the Ashoka network, and it allows them to access the fellows of the Ashoka network, to be invited to events, to basically be a part of this community that they highly value. And that membership program is super successful for Ashoka. It's one of their biggest revenue lines, is that they engage these people and they build a membership program for them. So it's very exciting to be a member of the Ashoka Support Network. First of all, the other members are high quality. The fellows are excellent. The events are super interesting. It's a global network, you name it. But there are many reasons. So is there things that you can offer to your community that will make them want to become a member? And it doesn't have to be as a very big fee, but whatever it is that you can do that people will want to be a part of. I want to be a part of this community. I joined at some point a community online, and it was just kind of virtual, but it was just about building a community to protect soil across the world. And I was just really happy to be part of that community. Is there a community that you can engage where people pay a fee, and what do they get against it? Like, do they get access to your space? Do they get access to events, to whatever? Is there an actual community? And there's quite a few of them. You talked about it, about big social media followings, big communities. Can they decide to join you as a member? Of course, you're all familiar with small donor strategies. That's one way to engage social media followers, but it's also another one is membership programs. So it's not just that they give you €5 every month, but it's, you join a community, you join us, and you become a member. Another one, and that's what our Center for Social Innovation in Toronto did, is brand licensing and certification. Are there other organizations in Romania or across Europe, across the world, that would like to use what you do as knowledge, use your brand, use your work, so that they could themselves deliver the same impact? If that's the case, can you build something in a way that you license your brand, right? Is there a certification that you can give for people who learn how to, care for dogs the way that Nicholas's company does, and those people access your certification and they can start using your brand? That's one other revenue line that we find really interesting, especially for social enterprises that have built a visible and trusted brand, right? That your service is a trusted service. And the last one is something that it would take a whole session in itself, but I just wanted to mention it. It's corporate services and not donations. So we tend to talk only to the CSR part of companies when we talk to companies, and they give you money because they kind of have to legally to give money to impact sector. But is there a way for you to engage the company differently? Are you providing a service that would be interesting to their employees, right? Is it that you are engaging a program with children and employees? Most of them have children. Could you sell it to a company, say, hey, I'd like to come in your company and do a full day where we engage the children of your employees and we teach them how to do this and that, like how can you engage the corporate sector a little further than the CSR programs that are usually the first step or the first foot in the door of corporates? That I think is something that is really, really interesting, that is absolutely underutilized. Corporates enjoy working with the social sector. They have a big interest in getting their employees exposed to great social solutions, especially in their country. Again, I think there's a lot that needs to be said about that. And unfortunately, we're stressed on time, but it was just kind of to help you navigate that and think that through. You'll see in the exercise sheet that you'll receive from Roxana that I've asked a few questions that will help you discuss it with your team. So I have about 7 minutes left. I want to open it to discussions and then just do a quick recap on what I want you to leave with. I see that there are some people who wrote it in the chats. We have contact with several schools where we delivered activities to children and teachers. We also have some contact with a few companies, and I would be curious to discuss within our team or if these two aspects could be combined. So yes, please do the exercise with your team. You'd be surprised what this exercise will generate in terms of creative ideas on how to generate revenue. All I want for you today is to think a little more creatively, think outside the box, okay? And of course, you have to keep, you know, the basic of, you know, don't work with anyone, make sure that you're transparent when you build revenue, to communicate with your community and your initial funders. But if all of those are done, you can really go and explore it. Lydia, you have your hand up.
Hello, thank you so much. It was very, very important, everything you said, and really, really appreciate. I'm coming from an area where we work with the children from Roma community. We mainly do education, after school, and prevention. It's very hard sometimes to find in the community, you know, any kind of resources. It's hard even to, you know, help them. We have about 120 children. I don't know if you know anything directly in that sort of area, Roma community.
So I don't know much about the Roma community. All I know is that they're a community that are difficult to reach. And already the fact that you have a community of 120 children, the Roma community, is something that can absolutely be leveraged. It could be leveraged to your municipality who wants to communicate with them or access them in a way. It could be leveraged to, you know, whomever wants to engage with that community. So I think what you're building here is a strong network with a community that is hard to reach. And so you have to think for yourself, who would really benefit from access to them? Again, when I say that, do it mindfully, okay? Don't ever do something that will hurt your beneficiary or that will hurt your reputation. That's the worst thing you can do as a nonprofit. But explore, sit down with your team and think, okay, this is what we do at our organization, and we do it very well. We engage them in a way that is very good. And there are things that you can do with it. Is there know-how? We have developed a know-how on how to engage children that are very difficult to engage because they're, I don't know the specificity of a community, Lydia, so please, I apologize if I say anything that's wrong, but let's say these are children that tend to not stay in school for long. I don't know, right? If that's the case, is there knowledge that you're developing on how to make sure that you re-engage children in school, for example? So that's one way. That's all the pillar of know-how. The pillar of infrastructure is, are there people who would like to access their community? This community is this community that is interesting to any kind of corporates or brands that would like to. I mean, children is a bit difficult, of course, because they're not consumers. So maybe governments, you know, is there a government, a municipality that would like to engage with them, you know, that they're struggling to access? So I think those are all the questions that you need to ask yourself. But absolutely, there's value in what you're building, which is a community, and people really value communities. Okay, so Anna, I'm just keeping an eye on the time. Anna Maria, we already do this. We as an association know how to attract students to events and what they want to see. So companies reached us in the past to organize and promote their events. So now we don't only organize our events and ask companies to sponsor us, to associate with our events, but we have companies pay us to promote their own events targeted to students. I don't know if this qualifies, so let me know if there is anything to improve here. This is excellent. Anna Maria, you are very excellent at leveraging your hidden assets because you've done it twice, right? And that's what I want you to think about. And that's why I'm so happy if you guys have done it, please share it. Raise your hand, put it in the chat, because you're teaching your fellow social enterprises leaders that it can be done in a way that works and that is mindful to your beneficiaries. So Anna Maria, thank you so much for sharing this example. This is absolutely what you should be doing. And well done on finding an extra hidden asset. There is so much financial loss in society that it seems inhumane to me that NGOs are forced to organize such fundraising events. From my point of view, just as there are fundraising events for NGOs, there should also be meetings between those who can provide funds. And I'm not referring to large companies. Are there such events? Thank you. I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to say. Is it that you're saying there should be events with funders and social enterprises that are put together? If that's the case, there are such events, but I think it's more locally driven. But there are networks that bring together impact organization and funders. I'm thinking of AmpliFY and Impact. Impact Europe is a big network of funders and social enterprises. For Lydia, maybe your know-how can be useful for larger educational and inclusion programs like Teach for Romania. Absolutely. In some cities, I've recently seen an event like this in Piatra, organized by the Regional Communitarian Foundation. Most meetings like this are closed and reserved to big-name NGOs from Romania. So I think Adina was responding to the comment around NGOs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, there are some events like that. Unfortunately, it's rarely accessible to small organizations. But I think that's why organizations like AmpliFY ONG, NGO exist, right?
NGO. ONG in Romania, NGO in English. It's the same.
ONG is in French as well, so.
Okay.
All right. So I just want to wrap up for everyone. Thank you so much. So quick recap. These are the three main hidden assets that we discussed today: infrastructure, new customers, and knowledge. I've also very briefly explained the three extra revenue lines that you could explore. There are many, many more. Here, it's all about challenging you that everything you do, you have to do for free, that everything you do has no numeral value to it. You do a lot of great work. You build communities, you build knowledge, you provide, services that are incredibly useful to your community. How can you be paid for that? Because you deserve it. And the reality is fundraising is getting harder for NGOs. And for you to be able to prove that you can raise your own revenue will be very, very useful when you're trying to raise external funding. So here are the three questions for the first revenue lines. What have you built for yourself that you could sell to others? What do you currently deliver for free or low cost that someone could pay a premium for? And what do you know that others would pay you to know? Sorry, I'm struggling. I don't know why the numbers are all one, but it's 1, 2, 3. Would pay you to learn. So these are questions that I think are essential. As a follow-up of this session, I've sent Roxana a little document where you will have the 6 revenue lines that I've discussed today with different questions that you have to ask yourself. What I would love for you to do is take that document, take it with your team, discuss through every revenue stream, every potential revenue stream, stream by stream. And it might not be, you might have, I don't have any infrastructure that I can repurpose, or whatever I do, there's no other customer that I can find, or, it's fine. You can say no, but go through stream by stream. And together with your team, commit to exploring one of those 6 streams in the next 90 days. Give you the time to think about exploring one stream, because we've seen Anna Maria, she's done multiple, right? She's got sponsorship, but she's also, organizing events for others. So there are many multiple revenue streams that you can build, but I want you to explore just one. I want you to give a time frame to it, engage your team on it, and try to put a number. How much would it cost you to develop that revenue stream? Is there money that needs to be inputted? Okay, do you need to hire someone? Do you need to print flyers? Do you need to, invest in whatever new software, whatever it is? Figure out what is the cost that it will take you to get that revenue line up and running. If you have that number, and if you have that strong story, you can go to your existing funders and say, look, we want to build more financial sustainability for ourselves. We want to generate more impact in a way that is financially sustainable so that we can stay for the long run. We've identified a revenue line that could really, really generate good revenue for us and that could help us diversify part of our funding. Okay. Would you give us X, Y, Z to help us make that a reality? All right. I've hit my time with 2 minutes delay. Maybe just a quick ending. Are there any one last comment or question that people want to share? Hey, so many people.
I will
Go
ask you now, just to make a sweet transition to Alex's part. The roles of credit in this financial sustainability framework. How do you find them? Yeah.
So how do you find them specifically in Romania? That's what Alex will talk to you about. So that's why I think it's a good fit, Alex and I, to do the presentation together. You can't raise credit if you don't have revenue, right? There's no point. Who will provide you credit if you're never, ever going to make any revenue? So raising credit is first and foremost something about making yourself credit worthy, right? And the way to do that is to have visibility on how you can stay for the long haul, with no matter what the situation, the political instability, the change in ideology on how you finance the social sector. And that's what raising revenue will do to you, is having that strategy is something that makes you a much stronger case for credit than any other NGOs out there. Now, I don't know the specificities in Romania. There are many ways of raising credit. We didn't do a workshop on credits. Of course, there are credit lines. There are different debt tool that NGOs can raise. It's a whole other topic in itself. What I wanted to let you with today is the more vision you have on where revenue could come from in the future, the stronger case you're building for any creditor, and therefore the stronger you are in negotiating your terms. But I would be more than happy to come back and do a full session on credits and raising debt, if ever. But I think it will be really interesting to hear, Alex, and how that happens in Romania. Thank you so much, everyone. I just wanted to let you know the Social Investment Toolkit is a website that we've developed. It's a platform. We were sponsored by it. So again, we've used the idea of finding someone else who would pay for it. This time it was a corporate, so that we could deliver it for free. It's an online toolkit for social enterprises. There are a lot of material there. There are a lot of things that documents that you can, templates that you can download. Please go on it and download everything. It's free, and hopefully it's helpful as well. Thank you so much, the team at AmpliFY NGO, for having me, and please feel free to reach out anyone if I can help you beyond this session today.
Thank you very much, Pauline. Thank you for the energy and for the insights. I will definitely share the recording, with the attendees. I will also share your email address, and of course, I will share with them the exercise you just mentioned. I think it's very valuable for everybody to go through it and assess what they have and what they can do next. So next step, I will kindly invite, I will firstly switch to Romania. Sorry, Pauline. So, bună ziua încă o dată. Cum spuneam, în partea a doua ne vom auzi pentru 15-20 de minute cu Alex de la BCR Social Finance și vom discuta un pic despre activitatea sa și despre ce pot face băncile în acest mix pentru activitate economică. Alex, ești aici cu noi?
Da, sunt aici.
Așa,
first of all, it was very nice to hear from you, Pauline. It was very valuable information, and I think I've seen in Romania many NGOs with both non-profit activity and economic commercial activity build it quite strong together. Ok, bună tuturor! Eu sunt Alexandru Codreș, sunt parte din echipa BCR Social Finance și la treia sau a patra apariție în workshop-urile AmpliFY ONG. Eu am pregătit ceva foarte scurt pe care să discutăm și ulterior zona de întrebări și poate discuție liberă. Dar trecând de la ce zicea Pauline mai devreme la ce urmează să vă prezint eu, chiar am văzut multe ONG-uri în ultima perioadă care au ajuns să aibă activitate economică, nu neapărat ca o primă activitate, ca o activitate principală, însă vă dau un simplu exemplu. M-am întâlnit cu un ONG de curând care și-a dat seama că nu poate să aibă angajați care să stea pe termen lung și să lucreze acolo dacă nu le pot oferi o stabilitate. Ei lucrau foarte mult cu implementare de proiecte cu fonduri europene și, după cum știți, în perioadele dintre proiecte e destul de greu să menții toți angajații, 10, 20, 30 după caz. Și din motivul acesta au ajuns să ofere consultanță pentru scriere și aplicare pentru proiecte cu fonduri europene pentru alte ONG-uri, ca și activitate economică. Și partea asta le asigura cumva un cash flow stabil, astfel încât să-și permită să își plătească angajații pe toată perioada anului, indiferent dacă aveau sau nu aveau proiect în derulare.
Cum se numea acea instituție?
E un ONG finanțat de noi și nu o să pot să spun, dar dacă vrei, pot să spun unul mare pe care știe toată lumea și cu activitate non-profit, deci fără scop patrimonial, și cu activitate economică sau întreprinderi sociale înființate. Cu toții ați auzit probabil de AFF, de Ateliere Fără Frontiere. Ei au 3 întreprinderi sociale înființate, unde desfășoară activitate economică.
Ok, mulțumesc.
Ok. Celălalt despre care m-ai întrebat e un ONG din București. Pot să zic că lucrează îndeaproape cu facultatea, cu Universitatea UNARTE și are activitate de 17 ani în piață. Adică e un ONG foarte vechi. Bun. Roxana, cred că ăsta ar fi momentul să dau share și la prezentare, nu?
Te rog, da, dacă simți că ai ajuns acolo, te rog frumos să...
Da, imediat.
Și la fel, dacă aveți întrebări pe parcursul prezentării lui Alex, vă invit să le treceți în chat ca să putem să le adresăm cu ușurință după ce Alex își termină prezentarea.
Ok, bun. BCR Social Finance, cum vă ziceam mai devreme. În primul rând, BCR Social Finance este o parte din grupul BCR Erste. Suntem în România cu zona de finanțare ONG-uri de aproximativ 10 ani și azi vom trece prin scurtă prezentare a BCR Social Finance, abordarea noastră și care e impactul până în acest moment în cifre, ce ar fi important să știți despre o finanțare bancară, deci despre un credit, ce soluții de cont curent sunt disponibile cu costuri adaptate pentru ONG-uri și un proiect relativ nou despre care o să vă povestesc puțin pentru ONG-urile mai micuțe sau mai la început de drum în zona de noi activități, credit cu suport de planificare financiară. Ok, cum vă ziceam, BCR Social Finance e partea grupului BCR, ajută la dezvoltarea comunităților prin educație de business și finanțare. Noi acționăm ca o întreprindere socială, adică nu distribuim dividende și tot profitul e reinvestit în companie pentru a susține proiectele sociale. Pe scurt, facem microfinanțare din care reușim să susținem și finanțarea la break-even cost pentru zona de ONG-uri și întreprinderi sociale. În cadrul BCR, grupului BCR din România, sunt 2 inițiative. 1, BCR Social Finance și 2, Departamentul de Social Banking din cadrul băncii, din cadrul BCR. Activitățile sunt cumva desprinse din misiunea comună a grupului și a Fundației Erste. Grupul Erste a fost fondat ca o întreprindere socială, chiar în urmă cu peste 200 de ani. Și a fost dedicat îmbunătățirii bunăstării în Europa Centrală și de Est. De la înființarea grupului s-a investit continuu în dezvoltarea socială și s-au creat și menținut 10.000 de locuri de muncă și s-a contribuit semnificativ la obiectivele de dezvoltare durabilă pe care cu siguranță toți le știți. Ok, asta despre noi, scurta prezentare. Impact în cifre. Mi se pare foarte important să știți că noi finanțăm ONG-uri în mod constant, cam de prin 2016-2017. La început, la fel cum fiecare organizație începe mai ușor, așa a fost și la noi. Au fost câteva finanțări în primii ani, însă am ajuns în ultimul an închis, adică în 2025, să avem peste 60 de organizații finanțate, susținute în anumite proiecte pe care ei le desfășurau. Overall, avem peste 250 de organizații care au contractat credite, valoarea totală depășind 30 de milioane de euro. Asta e partea de finanțări ONG-uri și întreprinderi sociale. Partea, de asemenea, pe care noi o considerăm de impact este zona de microfinanțare, unde finanțăm antreprenori la început de drum, atât în zona agro cât și în zona business, și avem aproximativ 25.000 de credite acordate și peste 5.000 de clienți activi. Recent am dezvoltat o zonă de investiție în educație, unde avem peste 800 de studenți sau persoane care fac upskilling, reskilling, cărora le-am acordat finanțări. Bun. Ce mai facem? Oferim servicii financiare care stimulează dezvoltarea sustenabilă și impactul social. Aici ne referim și la credite și la zona de cont curent, despre care o să vă vorbesc puțin mai târziu. Și împreună cu diversi parteneri construim programe de capacity building, cum ar fi AmpliFY ONG, MARC, ne implicăm activ în NGO Academy și la fel în Social Impact Award. Bun. Finanțarea bancară. Am încercat să țin lucrurile cât de scurt posibil. Ce e foarte important să știți că nu vorbim despre o finanțare cum sunt cele pentru, nu știu, persoane fizice. Adică aplici, iei banii, îi folosești, îi dai înapoi și acolo ne oprim. Nu, vorbim despre o finanțare în care ne întâlnim, construim împreună cea mai bună soluție, vedem care e cea mai bună variantă de finanțare pentru momentul, pentru situația în care asociația sau fundația voastră se află și ne dăm seama dacă vorbim de capital de lucru, investiții, prefinanțare, cofinanțare sau orice altceva. La fel, din discuție ne dăm seama ce fel de garanții sunt necesare în momentul în care noi avansăm cu solicitarea de finanțare și totodată care este suma potrivită. Pentru că, la fel cum o să vedeți mai târziu puțin, recomandăm să apelați la credit în momentul în care aveți nevoie de ele și în momentul în care ele vă ajută să dezvoltați activitatea și totodată nu recomandăm să vă aruncați la credite foarte mari pe care puteți sau nu puteți să le susțineți în funcție de condițiile de piață. Durata împrumutului, graficul de rambursare, de asemenea, sunt flexibile în funcție de nevoia voastră. Ultimul punct pe care îl aveam în cuprins sunt creditele pe cash flow previzionat. În ultima perioadă am întâlnit foarte multe ONG-uri care, din implementarea de proiecte sau după o perioadă mai puțin bună sau după o perioadă cu niște cheltuieli foarte mari, înregistrau un deficit. După cum vă puteți imagina, este foarte complicat să finanțezi o organizație care este pe pierdere, adică care nu își poate susține cheltuielile curente. Ne-am dat seama că există multe situații care pot determina un ONG să ajungă într-o asemenea criză, să zic așa, motiv pentru care încercăm să ne uităm la o finanțare pe un cash flow previzionat pe care îl vom construi împreună cu ONG-ul care aplică pentru finanțare. Aici, cu siguranță, o să aflați mai multe în viitorul apropiat și prin intermediul colegilor din AmpliFY și oricând putem să ne auzim pentru că o să aveți după această prezentare și datele noastre de contact. Ok. Am încercat să pun câteva puncte aici, cu speranța că o să discutăm mai aplicat în zona de Q&A. Ce e important despre un credit? 1. Nu e ceva de care să te sperii. De foarte multe ori e o oportunitate de a accesa o opinie a unor oameni care lucrează cu cifre în fiecare zi și a primi totodată o confirmare în legătură cu sustenabilitatea financiară. Aici chiar am un exemplu, de asemenea, nu o să dau nume, avem un ONG care e la partea finanțare la noi, care la prima discuție nu a putut fi finanțat, nu era eligibil pentru o finanțare, însă am discutat în detaliu despre cum arată financiarele lui, de ce arată așa, la ce cheltuieli ar trebui să se uite mai atent și la aproximativ un an și ceva după acel moment a reapărut nevoia de finanțare și a venit la noi să discutăm din nou. Moment în care a luat prima finanțare. Deci puteți cumva să vă bazați pe noi și pe aplicarea la un credit și ca pe o variantă de a valida cum arată financiarele voastre și dacă lucrurile sunt în direcția potrivită. Asta 1. 2. Creditele sunt de mai multe tipuri. Puteți să luați credit și pe, nu știu, 6 luni, 9 luni, în funcție de proiectul pe care îl implementați. Puteți să luați credit și pe 10 ani. În momentul în care, nu știu, luați decizia că trebuie să cumpărați un sediu social sau un punct de lucru pentru ONG-ul vostru. E foarte important să nu luați un credit pe termen scurt, să-l folosiți pentru un activ pe care îl veți amortiza pe termen lung. Bun, înainte de finanțare, asigurați-vă că aveți întotdeauna o strategie foarte clară și că aveți capacitatea de implementare. De ce? În momentul în care voi luați o finanțare, începeți să plătiți înapoi dobândă, comision și capital din luna următoare sau în funcție de caz, dacă ajungem la concluzia că e necesară o finanțare cu perioadă de grație, începeți peste 3 luni sau 6 luni. Dacă voi nu aveți deja construită o strategie clară și capacitatea să implementați strategia respectivă, și când zic capacitate mă refer inclusiv la resursa umană, s-ar putea ca strategia și recrutarea resursei umane să dureze 2, 3, 4 luni în care voi real nu folosiți banii respectivi. Deci e foarte important să aveți o strategie foarte clară și să știți că aveți resursa umană cu care să implementați sau că ea e la un pas distanță. Bun. După finanțare, asigurați-vă că aveți un cash flow suficient și pentru orice problemă țineți legătura cu finanțatorul. Aici vă pot da ca și exemplu, mă gândesc că o parte dintre voi măcar s-au lovit anul trecut de asta. Anul trecut banii pe declarația 177 în anumite cazuri, au fost și cazurile unor clienți ai noștri, s-au plătit târziu, adică septembrie-octombrie. Pentru multe ONG-uri, acei bani reprezintă o sursă foarte importantă din total venitul pe care ei le au pe an. Am avut ONG-uri care au venit la noi și ne-au spus de ce s-au lovit și ce probleme au și am găsit o soluție de amânare la plată, astfel încât să poată plăti undeva în noiembrie, să reînceapă plata ratelor pe care ei le aveau la această finanțare. Deci e foarte important în momentul în care aveți un credit și vedeți că treceți printr-o perioadă mai puțin bună, să fiți aproape cu finanțatorul. Bun. Și ultima și cred că cea mai importantă din punctul meu de vedere, apelați la o finanțare când aveți nevoie de ea. Faceți un cash flow previzionat pe următorul an, minim, și în felul ăsta o să vă dați seama din timp dacă aveți nevoie de o finanțare sau nu. Dacă aveți nevoie de o finanțare, ok, apelați la ea, contractați-o. Dacă nu aveți, nu v-aș recomanda să luați o finanțare și să plătiți pentru ea, pentru că nicio finanțare, niciun credit nu este fără costuri asociate, doar ca să știți că aveți niște bani acolo pentru, nu știu, o săptămână mai complicată sau o lună în care aveți întârziere în încasări. E foarte bine să știți că vă încadrați și să apelați în momentul în care aveți cu adevărat nevoie. Bun. Aici o simplă mențiune mai am. De foarte multe ori o finanțare, din ce am observat eu, a dat curajul ONG-urilor să se apuce de implementarea unor proiecte mari pe care nu le-ar fi putut implementa fără o finanțare bancară. Și aici e foarte, foarte potrivit creditul punte pentru implementarea proiectelor cu fonduri nerambursabile. Ok, pentru soluția de cont curent, cu siguranță cu toții aveți un cont curent. Ce vă pot spune despre cel dedicat ONG-urilor de la BCR este că pentru ONG-urile cu impact social, comisiunea de administrare devine 0 în baza unei declarații de impact social. Noi ne uităm la activitățile pe care voi le aveți și pe care le treceți în acea declarație și în baza impactului generat de aceste activități reușim să facem o reducere de 100% la acest comision de administrare. Deci, în funcție de ce nevoi aveți în momentul de față, ne putem auzi, vă punem în legătură cu colegii din BCR, semnați declarația de impact social și puteți avea o reducere de comision pe contul curent. Ok, și acum avem zona de Q&A, dar o să dau stop share pentru că am văzut deja câteva întrebări în chat. Bun. Florin, bună ziua, această oportunitate este în toată țara? Da, este în toată țara. De câte ori am întrebat la BCR, al cărui client suntem din 1996, mi s-a spus că nu putem primi un credit. Da, deci pentru zona de finanțare ONG-uri avem echipe dedicate. Este o echipă centrală în cadrul BCR, echipa de social banking, și avem 25 de sucursale BCR Social Finance în toată țara. Nu avem un specialist în finanțarea de ONG-uri în fiecare sucursală. Motiv pentru care sfatul meu ar fi să aplicați pe website-ul BCR Social Finance și în felul ăsta vă contactează direct persoanele care se ocupă de finanțarea de ONG-uri pentru o întâlnire și pentru o discuție mai detaliată. Sper că am răspuns, măcar parțial. Ok, da, se pare că am răspuns. Bun. Dacă mai sunt întrebări din partea voastră, dacă nu, o să vă mai povestesc eu puțin, că mi se pare că se leagă foarte bine ce zicea Pauline mai devreme de partea aceasta, și anume zona de surse de venit. Îmi imaginez că o parte dintre voi ați participat și la webinarul cu Ștefan. Ce ne-am dat noi seama din finanțarea de ONG-uri? Am finanțat câteva, putem finanța mult mai multe, pentru că îmi dau seama că nevoia există pentru ONG-urile, mai ales cele care implementează proiecte sau care au strict venituri din 177 sau 230. Ne-am dat seama că în momentul în care există mai multe surse de venituri, ONG-ul respectiv este din ce în ce mai stabil. Am văzut ONG-uri mici cu implementare de proiecte cu fonduri europene, care aveau un an cu 500.000 de lei venituri, al doilea an cu 50.000 de lei venituri. Anul cu 500.000 avea 7-8 salariați, anul cu 50.000 avea 0 salariați. Deci depindea foarte mult activitatea și constanța în activitate de colurile pentru proiecte cu fonduri nerambursabile. Partea de consultanță pentru aplicare la proiecte cu fonduri nerambursabile mi s-a părut o chestie foarte, foarte faină și foarte ușor de implementat, oarecum cu aceeași resursă umană pe care o foloseau în activitatea de zi cu zi. Și dacă faceți asta, luați în calcul să oferiți o asemenea consultanță. În procesul de creditare, noi ne uităm la sursele de venit. Nu sunt un criteriu de eligibilitate, doar că ne ajută foarte mult să știm că dacă se întârzie plata pe declarația 177 sau dacă e un an fără proiecte cu fonduri nerambursabile sau fără multe proiecte, voi în continuare puteți să aveți același impact pe care îl previzionați, în continuare puteți păstra același nivel al activității. Cam asta facem noi, cam asta era din partea mea. Mă bucur că ați rămas chiar activi, o mare parte dintre voi, după cele aproape 2 ore și o grămadă de informații transmise atât de Pauline cât și de mine. Mulțumim
mult, Alex, mulțumim mult pentru intervenție. La fel, dacă mai aveți întrebări, încă mai puteți să le scrieți în chat. Da, a fost o sesiune. Uite, a apărut o întrebare în chat. Îți mai las un pic, 2 minute scena.
Da, salut, Alexandru. La linii de credit aveți deschidere. Răspunsul e da, există posibilitatea de linii de credit acordate de BCR prin intermediul departamentului de social banking. În cadrul BCR Social Finance, în momentul de față, nu avem o asemenea facilitate, însă avem credite pentru capital de lucru, sau credite de prefinanțare în funcție de nevoia pe care ONG-ul vostru o are.
Mulțumim. Bun. Păi, cred că putem să intrăm în ultima parte a acestei întâlniri și anume, cum spuneam la început, ne dorim, dacă puteți, să stați alături de noi, să trecem un pic prin formularul de feedback. Pentru noi este foarte important să vedem cum vi s-a părut sesiunea de astăzi. O să vă rog să luați un pic, eventual, o secundă să aștept și să-mi dau și o share la ecran. Se vede? Mentiul meu?
Da, se vede.
Așa, bun. Mădălina o să vă lase în chat și linkul și codul pe care trebuie să-l introduceți pe Mentimeter. Deci trebuie fie să scanați cu mobilul codul QR, fie să scrieți în browser menti.com și să treceți acest cod 7428 9719. Iar eu voi trece cu voi prin întrebări ca să mă asigur că suntem în același pas. O secundă. Așa, haide. Tehnologia, cum zicea și Pauline. Se vede mentiul? Ia uite, sunteți deja aici, deja răspundeți, mă simt în urmă deja.
Da,
Bun.
se vede.
Așa, bun. Cât de util vi s-a părut webinarul de astăzi? Vorbim de intervenția lui Pauline, despre diversificarea surselor de venit. Haideți, 2627, menti.com, 74289719 este codul pe care trebuie să-l introduceți. 33. Cred că îl găsiți și în chat, eu nu văd chat-ul în momentul de față, e trecut acolo de...
Da, este pus și codul și link-ul, tot în regulă.
Mulțumesc. Așa, bun. Trecem la următoarea întrebare. Hai că văd că lumea încă se alătură. Așa, bun. Cu ce idei noi plecați de la webinarul de astăzi? Ia uite, diversificare surse de venit, variante și idei pentru asigurarea sustenabilității financiare. Ia uite, poți să monetizezi datele, valorificarea know-how-ului. Chiar suntem curioși cu ce informații rămâneți. Și da, nu uitați, văd aici plan 90 de zile pentru multiple idei, noi surse de venit. O să revin cu exercițiu pe e-mail și cu înregistrarea sesiunii de astăzi. Așa. De ce resurse sau sprijin ai avea nevoie mai departe pentru a aplica ce ai descoperit în acest webinar? Oarecum, cum vă putem ajuta noi sau ce resurse ați dori să accesați pentru a putea să implementați lucrurile discutate astăzi? Echipa, văd peste tot echipa. Echipa este cheie în implementarea resurselor, așa este. Bun. Haide. Vă mai aștept un pic, că văd că doar 10 au răspuns din 50. Ia să vedem ce se mai... O echipă mai mare. Continuați să ne conectați la bune practici. Să știți că da, este misiunea noastră să aducem în fața voastră oameni, idei, resurse, evenimente, astfel încât să vă puteți amplifica impactul și să mențineți misiunea voastră, să vă protejați misiunea pe termen lung. Bun. Mai aveți? Mai scrieți? Trecem la următoarea? Ia uite, o întrebare pentru Pauline în urma webinarului. Vă reamintesc că dacă aveți întrebări pentru Pauline, o să las și adresa ei de e-mail în e-mailul de follow-up care va veni cu înregistrarea și cu exercițiu. Puteți să-i scrieți direct și a zis că va răspunde întrebărilor celor care au participat astăzi la webinar. Bun. Întrebări pentru Alex? Nu? Dar vă rog, dacă cumva pentru Alex vă doriți să discutați mai multe despre creditele bancare, despre cum băncile vă pot ajuta să vă protejați misiunea, să aveți stabilitate financiară. Puteți să vă treceți, nu se văd în momentul de față, deci puteți să vi le treceți, ne rămân nouă și noi le vom da mai departe datele voastre de contact pentru a ne asigura că și aici vă sunt se răspunde la întrebări și puteți să vedeți ce facem mai departe. Bun. Așa. Cum vi s-a părut, Pauline? Mă bucur că ați învățat lucruri noi. A fost bine structurată. Mă bucur să văd feedback pozitiv. Vă mai las, sunteți doar 9 care ați răspuns. Dacă puteți să mai ajungeți și la acest slide, să răspundem despre Pauline. Așa, 11. Încerc să stau, nu-mi dau seama cât de repede scrieți voi, cât de repede trec eu prin slide-uri. Sper că n-am trecut prea repede. Dacă aveți întrebări, puteți să mi le puneți. Vă aud. Nu văd, dar vă aud. Așa. Bun. Și Alex. Și el ne-a fost de ajutor, o nouă perspectivă. Bun. Ce sugestii pentru noi, cei de la AmpliFY? Să știți că, așa cum vă spuneam, depunem eforturi, ne dorim foarte mult să susținem ONG-urile să-și susțină misiunea pe termen lung. Asta, cum vă spuneam, o facem prin evenimente, prin webinare, prin acces la resurse. Ne dorim să vorbim cât mai aplicat despre diversificarea surselor de venit, despre activitatea economică, despre cum puteți construi parteneriate strategice cu companiile sau parteneriate strategice în mare, despre ce am discutat astăzi, despre resursele interne deja existente în organizație și cum puteți să luați decizii financiare și organizaționale mai sănătoase. Așa că lăsați aici idei, noi să știți că după fiecare dată analizăm sugestiile voastre și întotdeauna încercăm să venim cu conținut spre voi care să se potrivească nevoilor voastre. Bun. Vă mulțumim. Opa, mai stau un pic pe acest slide. Și last but not least, așa în final, o să, cum vă spuneam, AmpliFY ONG este, o secundă să îmi schimb slide-ul, sharing-ul. Suntem o comunitate de peste 900 de ONG-uri în momentul de față și este o comunitate conectată care aduce valoare tuturor celor care se află, care sunt membri și vă invit, am lăsat la sfârșit pentru că dacă scanați acest cod QR, veți fi trimiși către pagina noastră de website. Mădălina o să lase și linkul direct, în care vă invităm să vă înscrieți, să completați acel formular când aveți 5 minuțele libere. După ce completați formularul, există o sesiune de onboarding în care vă întâlniți cu Mădălina, colega mea, care a fost și astăzi în webinar, în care discutăm punctual despre ce oferă AmpliFY, despre nevoile voastre și despre lucrurile bune pe care putem să le facem pentru societatea noastră în România. Acestea fiind spuse, m-am încadrat și în timp, ne-am încadrat în timp. Mă scuzați și de emoții, dar sunt emoționată așa când prezint webinare, dar vă mulțumim foarte mult pentru prezență, sperăm că v-am adus valoare și ne vedem la următorul webinar, dar până atunci nu uitați, avem așa de recapitulat, primiți înregistrarea, primiți exercițiu, așteptăm exercițiu trimis înapoi către mine și save the date pentru 21 iulie. NGOs Night Out revine cu ediția de vară, ne vom vedea în 12 orașe și abia aștept să ne reapropiem și în contexte fizice. Bun, mulțumesc mult de tot, o zi bună tuturor și pe curând!